So boys, hope you guys enjoy the stream. I should be live tomorrow most likely. But yeah, I'll see you then. If not, I'll see you guys in the next live stream video. Peace. We're turning up these with more slams for under $10 a day. More sun, more slams, more big meals, all under 10. More for everyone this summer. More slams for under $10 each. The days. What's up, boy? The job is get the piece off the counter. Now slide it under the door with your nose. Your jaw can't touch the cigarette, but now you can from anywhere with the MyQ all-in-one pet monitoring and access system. Throwing the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter. Spoiler warning, New Vegas has an incredible story and it's a shame to ruin it with spoilers, so consider this a fair warning. Welcome to New Vegas, a wonderful place that makes you to the NCO. Welcome to New Vegas, a wonderful place that makes you say, that's Vegas, baby. Have you ever seen a man use nuclear weapons in close quarters combat? That's Vegas, baby. You ever murdered somebody just so you can take a 1-hour nap in their filthy cock? That's Vegas, baby. You ever seen someone covered in pitch set on fire and tossed into the Grand Canyon only to somehow crawl out and survive? You can't expect God to do all of that. Jesus fucking Christ. That's Vegas, baby. But enough of the empty chatter. How about we start getting somewhere? The time for talk is past. The Lord's work must be done. Fallout New Vegas is the story of a courier delivering a mysterious package to the New Vegas Strip that's robbed by a charismatic gangster left to die in the Mojave Wasteland. This game was rigged from the start. Unfortunately, a man by the name of Doc Mitchell digs the lead out of your brain, picks up the pieces, and puts you back together like Humpty Dumpty, introducing you to character creation.
I hope you don't mind, but I had to go rooting around there in your noggin to pull all the bits of lead out.
Special stats come first in the form of strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. Despite all the terrible and draconian warnings that were given to us leading up to the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2, fairly early on we saw many patterns that were seen during the Nintendo Switch 1's life, but at a much quicker rate than we got during the Nintendo Switch 1's life. Over the span of 4 days, all thanks to having extra stock available, the Nintendo Switch 2 managed to hit 3.5 million units sold, obviously with one-third of that being in Japan where the Switch 2 was cheaper, and it not being as quick to reach the 1 million number as Sony was, because Sony was able to do it in 24 hours and it took the Switch 3 days to get to that 1.1 million number, which, again, they only managed to receive because they actually had stock. Aside from that, with Nintendo's very proud and very puffed out chest exclaiming that their console would not be hackable, within the first 24 hours there was already a route found to get into the system, although it's still going to need significantly more time until you can see all of the custom firmwares come into fruition. And of course, you also have the fact that Nintendo combated scalpers by making sure they overcharged for their console, even though now, 2 weeks later, scalpers are still making a pretty penny off of the console, but it's a fraction of what they would make off of the PlayStation 5 when that came out, because obviously that was a console that was actually in demand. Now, hopefully, with that fun introduction out of the way, I was able to filter out all of the haters that just wanted to come in and make their dumb comments so they could leave. With the rest of you still around, let's talk about the fact that the Nintendo Switch 2 is already getting their bans. I like to imagine there is just a whole room of people sitting there with a red button in front of them, staring at a bunch of screens, watching each and every single person that bought the Nintendo Switch 2, just waiting for them to sneeze while not properly covering their nose with their elbow, so they can shout fault, hit the red button, and make sure that that person is no longer ever able to access the Nintendo Switch 2 console ever again. Or at least the online console. Credit to Nintendo, however, those sneezes are not enough to get the console bricked yet. We haven't heard anything about a console getting bricked. But the bans are coming out, and they're coming out strong. Now, I think that first I should make a defense. Not necessarily for Nintendo, not even for Nintendo fans, but for hackers, for people that mod their consoles, for people that have experience in this field. Quite frankly, anybody that's already gotten their console banned because they decided to put the mixed switch in their Nintendo Switch 2 console kinda deserves it. Not because I think Nintendo is in the right for banning your Switch, but because you know you're not supposed to fly too close to the sun without wearing the right amount of sunscreen. It has been all of 12 days since the Nintendo Switch 2 has hit the market, and you're telling me you grabbed a device that was available on the original Switch when they made the Switch 2 to basically play everything the first Switch could play, and you just assume that nobody over there in Japan grabbed the next Switch, put it in the Switch 2, and figured out how they were going to make sure you could not use it on the new Switch? Nah, you deserve the ban. I'm sorry. That's like me naming my son Mario and not expecting a ninja lawyer to show up at the hospital to take my kid away on the day of his birth. You don't play with fire when the fire is coming from Nintendo. If you're gonna be a hacker, you gotta be smart. And playing with a mixed switch in the first 10 days of Nintendo's life is not smart. Now, beyond that, you can already hear on the people.
Brother man, that's right. You gonna absolutely be out there all day trying to sell that $25. I mean, come on, hustle, man. I got more food than the Sam's Club sent. Don't make no sense.
Hey, boss, you really busy to the office of the DNR lately? I was heard just this morning say that we just got about you going into the DNR office, eating a banana off the desk of the receptionist, and taking a jug of piss into their pot plant is your fact. Why? They want to press charge. In fact, they issued an apology and said that the agent responsible will no longer be allowed on your property. What happened? Well, the office visit I made to the DNR was just me showing them how appropriate I thought their last visit was out to my property. An agent came onto my property, went up to my apple tree, picked an entire backpack full of apples, pissed at the base of my tree stand, and then left. Said he was looking for bait, but I've got it all on camera. So, turnabout's fair play. So you gave him the footage on. I know you keep a trail cam and it couldn't have captured all of that. How did you get it? It's when it comes to protecting what's mine, I'm like the government. I've got cameras watching cameras. Did you see anything weird on today's footage? I was scratching an itch. Hey, boss.
I got cameras watching camera, boy.
This person normally hired top bullets all the way to a 50 cal and see if we can stop. So now the 22. Just like glass. I mean, the Ryan 22 with the glass here, the metal here. The glass completely shattered the bullet came on the other side, but the metal did stop the bullet. Next up, 380. 380 with a full right here. That glass is completely bad. The metal did stop. Next up, 45 SUV. Building us right here now. Next up, 90. Launched out the back, but did not come all the way through. Next up, 10.
Automotive Explorer for Progressive shows you rates from other companies, even if they're lower than ours.
Because honesty is the best policy.
Welcome back to the channel. First piece just updated, so I have to cover that update on the channel. So let's find the codes. I will pin the codes into the pinned comment. The update is mostly filled with quality of life changes. We have a new system race, but it can only be obtained through Webtown Quest. You can't use a race re-roll to obtain it. First, head to First Town. There you gotta take the player race quest. The quest requires you to die to the damn statue god boss at least 25 times. Over the statue boss, head into the Ruins Island and go to the new dungeon. The double dungeon with 5 waves. The statue boss will only appear in the 5th wave. Alright, before jumping into this dungeon, don't forget you'll need a blessing stone. The easiest way to grab one is by taking down Sukuna boss over at First Town. charges in the fifth wave. To make sure you're well prepared, I'd suggest equipping a crappy accessory, resetting your stats to 0 in defense, and then opting for a crummy trait. Here's the reason for that strategy. You've only got a tight 5-minute window to kick the bucket 25 times. Right, here's how it goes. After kicking the bucket 25 times, a system message will pop up giving you the chance to accept a quest. Hitting that accept button is your ticket to gaining the player race. And here's the cherry on top. You'll also unlock a job change quest. Wait, the job change quest means we're gearing up for a showdown with Egress in the dungeon. Once we're victorious, we'll have access to the Arise skill system, which is going to be a total game changer. Oh, folks, listen up. There's a heads up about possible data loss after double dungeons. Hold off on diving in right now until the devs sort it out. Before we dive into the job change quest, I just wanted to let you know that you can access the system UI by pressing the G key. It's a handy little shortcut on your keyboard that'll give you quick access to all sorts of information. So anyway, now that that's out of the way, let's dive into the job change quest and truly unleash the power of the Necromancer race. Well, there we go. After that whole quest ordeal, we're officially subject. And here's how it works. First things first, you gotta level up the system. So these shadows really powers a lot of them, and as soon as they come, they're no joke. I've got Vostok Ichigo in my lineup too, and he's seriously dishing out some serious damage. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets hit with a nerf in the future, though.
Leave all the mechanical stuff to me. Maintenance, repairs, enhancements, you name it, I'm gonna know about it. Apparently, the Switch 2 key cards are not selling, like, whatsoever. And ask yourself, who's surprised? Really, like, honestly, I don't want to sound like I'm the only person who's saying this because I wasn't. But I definitely was saying it at the very beginning. I've said since day one, the Switch 2 is a first party system. And anyone that is a third party that is trying to get by on the cheap with a game key card, it's not going to work. Because I would rather, personally, I'd rather buy the game digitally on Steam for cheaper when it goes on sale than buy a key card with literally no game on the card. Like, what's the point of this? I'm not going to support this practice, which some could argue is kind of what they want you to do, to push you in the direction of, oh, I guess no one wants physical anymore, we'll just go all digital. It's like, no, you idiots, that's not what we're saying. When we buy physical, we want the actual physical game on the physical card. But I said, remember when I said the Switch 2 is going to be a first-party system for gamers? Yeah, no one is on board with buying game key cards. We are winning. They have to change the strategy. This comes from us to us from Mario64. Said the games business. Most third-party Switch 2 games posted very low numbers. One third-party publisher characterized the numbers as below our lowest estimates, despite strong hardware sales. Now, remember, this is coming out of, what was it, Nintendo announcing that they sold, what was it, over 1 million Switch units on launch day? Like, well over 1 million? And they had below our lowest estimates. It was the fastest selling Nintendo console in history. And below their lowest estimates. Cyberpunk 2077 was the best selling third party game. This game is actually on launch, beating launch sales of Witcher 3 on Switch 1. And this is just a handful of the games that are game key cards. And to be honest, it's genuinely tragic because I feel like people are missing out on a great game. Bravely Default, I love, like, love Bravely Default. And I feel like nobody even knows what game that is. Like, Bravely Default, what is this? A Square game? I'm like, where was everyone, like, when this came out? Was it, like, 8 years ago? Or 14 years ago? It's like, God, time goes by. It's probably 10 years ago for Bravely Default. It was so good. My favorite one in the entire series. It's a cutesy Final Fantasy style game. Yeah, exactly. It's tragic that this was a game key card. So I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not buying that. I would have considered purchasing it. I genuinely would have considered purchasing it if it was a game on the actual card. But game key card, I just laughed at. I was like, yes, that ain't happening. I'm not going to ever see it ever. Especially full price. You know, do you think we're idiots? And this comes to us from Go Nintendo. It says, rumor, third-party titles are selling slower than expected on Switch 2. And they talk about how the Switch 2 has been a runaway success and selling, I said over 1 million. Over 3.5 million in the first 4 days. And the third-party sales are lower than their lowest estimate. There's no doubt that total is well north of 4 million units sold right now, and thousands more are joining the month every day. Unfortunately, it seems like those diving into Nintendo's next-gen system aren't too keen on checking out third-party offerings just yet. And, well, one, like, it's a very expensive console. It's a very expensive console. You're talking, if you're getting the Mario Kart bundle, it's $500 or more plus tax.
ish, 540, 545, something like that, out the door just for the Switch console. Then if you want to buy a carry case, which obviously you're going to, that's another $30. Then if you want to buy a Pro controller, which most people would, you don't have to, because maybe original Switch Pro controllers. But say you're buying a controller, that's another $80 or so. You want to buy a second pair of Joy-Cons, that'll cost you another $90. Plus tax for all these things. And oh, by the way, you want to buy a connector, and I'm trying to think of all the stuff you buy alongside a console when you walk out the door. You get all that, and you are already talking, before you buy a game in addition to Mario Kart World that comes with the Switch, you're already talking about $1,000 cash after tax for everything together, before you even buy a second game. So yeah, I think people are going to be a little bit questioning with their money, and if it's worth spending $70 to $80 on a third-party game that is already available on multiple systems previously. And most of these are already available at Steam discounts on other consoles as well. If there's no such thing as a Steam Deck, you can make the case for, oh, I want to play this game globally. It's like, well, get a Steam Deck and get the game on clearance on Steam for $10. Why would you spend $70 for a game that doesn't even exist for the game? It's from the days before this even came out. I don't think Nintendo fucking weren't even smart enough or that they could fool everyone. I don't know how they were. They're being clouded by greed. The content is completely gone with them. The details about what made it look like third parties have done slightly better on Switch 2 and Switch 1 at once, but there are a number of factors to consider. For example, Switch 2 has sold more units than Switch 1 at this time, and Switch 1 had 5 physical third-party games at launch, while Switch 2 has 13. Along with that, no name is given, 130 third-party publisher.
Well, ain't no point in me streaming it. It's real late, so hold on.